While it may not be Halloween for another 3 days, we all know by this stage that I upload on Fridays, making today the official Halloween special, I suppose. While the last 2 Halloween videos have been wildly different, and I'm not just referring to the mic quality in the Luigi's Mansion video, I got so many requests for different horror movie icons on the Leatherface video that I knew I just had to attempt another one. So with that in mind, today I asked the question, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Jason Voorhees? Much like Leatherface, the rules are pretty straightforward if you have some knowledge of the character. I can only wear attire and use weapons that the character in question would. The difference was this time, I wanted to go a little further, and specifically make Jason as to what he would look like if he was in the Fallout universe by using items that were in the game by default. So, while there may be a multitude of Jason mods out there, I instead just went for wearing the jumpsuit and hockey mask that you can find in the base game. I should also note that while it was tempting to just walk everywhere, as the character has never seemed to run very much, besides the Mortal Kombat footage on screen anyway, I figured that would turn this into a retread of the over-encumbered run, plus, unlike that run, I have almost nothing in the way of protection, and would no doubt be killed from a distance before I could make a move. For what it's worth, I am willing to revisit the idea of a slow-moving slasher in a different game, say for example Michael Myers in Fallout 4 at some point. But regardless, that's enough about potential future runs, so now I am going to cuck you all with a fatality again, and with all that out of the way, let's begin. The name is what you expect, the face is unimportant due to none of you seeing it, and then the special stats are melee focused because Jason will not be using any firearms in this playthrough. I should probably also mention that while he has used a multitude of weapons such as knives, pitchforks and the like, I am probably just going to be sticking to the machetes, as after all, that's probably what he's most known for. Back to the special stats, and I decided to give him 10 in luck, because if I gave Lincoln a 1 because he was assassinated, then by that same logic, I should probably max out Jason's for his inability to die. For tag skills, I chose melee weapons, unarmed, and sneak. While I may not necessarily be crouch walking around the map per se, the fact that someone of Jason's size and stature is able to get the drop on anyone is grounds for an impressive sneak skill. Finally, for traits, I decided on Built to Destroy and Hot-Blooded. Extra crit damage could prove useful, and given the amount of machetes in the game, the faster weapon decay shouldn't come into effect all that much. As for Hot-Blooded, well, I mean, why not? More potential damage is always welcome. As per usual, once I get my equipment from Doc Mitchell, I decorate his floor with it before leaving. The one major difference is that this time I actually keep the broad machete, as it's the most Jason looking machete around. The other machetes are not off the table, mind you, it's just that you happen to start with this one, so why not? Well, with the machete in hand, I could by all rights begin the slaughter right now. Don't act surprised, you knew that's where the video was going. But I feel it wouldn't be right to do so until I looked the part, so in other words, it was time to go find a hockey mask and potentially a jumpsuit. Hockey masks can spawn on random raiders, and in my experience, more often than not, the convicts harassing Prim. But that's just it, it's all down to chance, and other than the knife, me and chance tend not to see eye to eye, so I would much rather take the 100% certainty, and fortunately, I know just where to find one. Heading south by southwest from Prim, and I come upon this small stash that from the outset just seems to house a bed and motorcycle, but upon closer inspection, we can see it also has death. Upon careful inspection, we can see that there's a hockey mask just sitting there waiting to be taken. The mask is what makes the man, so with my face covered, all that remained was to find some clothes, and much like the mask, I had an idea of what I wanted and where to get it. The mask is Voorhees enough for me to get down and dirty, which is my way of saying, while on the way to the jumpsuit, I may have butchered a few people and animals. I am heading for West Side, by the way. I should have probably mentioned that, as it's the one place I can think of for the jumpsuit I want. That means I will of course be taking the Black Mountain shortcut to get there, so the residents of Sloan meet with an unfortunate fate just for existing in my line of sight. Yes, that includes Snuffles, unfortunately. Not my fault, he is far too dangerous to be kept alive, seeing how he is smarter than Caesar after all. Anyway, continuing along, and I slash many bark scorpions, fiends, and NCR personnel as I continue my jog towards Westside. None of them were very strong defensively, but in the troopers' case, that could be down to multiple quick crits that just obliterated their health bars. Finally, making it to my destination, and I find the suit that I want. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at things, the jumpsuit is currently being worn by Nerbit, and sadly for him, I don't think there's room enough for 2 in there. Oddly enough, I murder the man in broad daylight without even trying to hide it, and not a single person bats an eye at the ordeal. I mean, works for me, so now that I have what will most likely be my entire arsenal for the rest of the run, bar any machete upgrades I might make later, Gladius, it's back to Goodsprings to farm experience in the easiest way possible, pure unbridled slaughter fueled rage. The townsfolk don't pose much of a threat, the exception being Ringo, but he is also not a permanent resident, so maybe that has something to do with it. He gets a few good shots in, but let's keep in mind once I'm below half health, hot-blooded kicks in and I start to dish out more pain. With good springs doomed once again, I return to Prim and sort out my business there. Sadly for the town of Prim, they were attacked by 2 slasher villains, as right when I was getting ready to clean up and leave, Malcolm Holmes entered the picture in an attempt to spook Jason. Sadly for him, Jason has more combat experience and prefers to stab first and ask questions later, so we take him out before he causes any problems. We may chalk that up as our one good deed for the day. To clarify, I cleared out the convicts as well, but I balanced that deed with the immediate death of Deputy Beagle. Well, I guess I should be heading off then. Some more aimless wandering and genocide, and like clockwork, I end up at the Mojave Outpost. There is no reason for me to be here, as it's not like I'll be working with the NCR, so really, I am just here to enact my best Butcher Pete impression. All the killing has pushed me just beyond level 6 by this stage, which is good, as I desperately need both ranks of the toughness perk, not just for effective Jason roleplaying, but if I wish to survive more than 5 seconds as soon as someone pulls out a gun that is stronger than a service rifle. When the outpost is cleared and Jason has loaded the place of all its food and healing supplies, it's off to Nipton to spread the love of equality, as the Legion will face the same fate the NCR has up to this point. While here, I end up suffering my second death at the hands of the Legion. I would argue that this one doesn't count though, as they seem to have destroyed the very fabric of reality in the process. Clearly the side effects of this reality-shattering kill proceeded into the next life, as when the fight begins anew, a random soldier ant rushes to my aid, allowing me to easily dispatch the Legion soldiers. The ant turns on me when the battle is over unfortunately, so he must be put down as well. Goes without saying, but the path I'm on takes me through Novak, and I shouldn't need to spell out for you what exactly went down as soon as Jason came to town. Old Lady Gibson got what was coming to her as well, and once more a worthwhile level up in a new perk, that being the Super Slam, to help demonstrate my strength, as well as being an all-around god tier perk for any melee build. Funny thing though, and this is something I have never seen with any other melee weapon in New Vegas, but for the entire time I used the broad machete in this run, the Super Slam effect never once procced. I have no idea why this happened, but it did, and as far as I can tell, this isn't a very common bug with the weapon. Well, it's not a New Vegas video if we don't accidentally break the game in new and interesting ways. I have yet to face the Brotherhood in this run, but I can already put them to shame by clearing out Helios 1 of NCR soldiers with nothing but a rusty old machete. In fact, out of spite, and because I hate myself, I'm also going to kill the Brotherhood with this exact same machete. I mean, why not? Before that though, I will need a few more levels behind me. I may be a bloodthirsty idiot today, but I ain't no fool. After that bloodbath, I return to Old Lady Gibson's house, and due to my previous actions, the place is now haunted by the ghost of a random prospector.
Howdy.
Spooked beyond belief and needing to vent these strange feelings somewhere, I travelled into the dry lake and put a sizable dent in the fire ant population, as well as perhaps permanently damaging my eyes thanks to all of these fire effects. As I am in the area, after the ants have been wiped out, I mark and clear out the Eldorado substation, because as you can probably imagine, I am going to be siding with Yes Man today, as it's the only faction that makes any sort of sense. I like to think that we will just be two idiots yearning for the approval of the other, but never receiving it, and therefore being trapped in a vicious cycle that somehow ends with us taking over the dam. We can think more about that later. For now, I continue dispensing my wrath on the NCR, this time in and around Boulder City. Jessup and the Cans prematurely thank me for my help, seemingly unaware that I'm about to extend the same warm welcome to them. Blind rage, accompanied by a little bit of muscle memory, took me to the 188 trading post, where I took out my easy ticket into the Brotherhood's base, along with, you guessed it, more NCR soldiers in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was where I reached level 10 and took the finesse perk. I think this is important to note just so you may all understand why I'm about to start doing a lot more damage from this point on. It was around here that I noticed that due to all of the murder, I was positively swimming in caps. Going to the shops and picking up supplies doesn't seem very Jason-like, so I have a better idea. I walk myself over to the New Vegas clinic and have the doctor modify me with a subdermal implant and the health regeneration implant. I figured that this would make me as close to Jason as possible in terms of damage resistance and healing potential, at least for now. Still being required to follow the game's plot, I begin to make my way for Nellis, when my good deeds finally catch up with me as I am assaulted by a band of Legion assassins. This is actually the exact moment when I realised that the Super Slam perk was not working, as I have never attacked someone this many times with a weapon this fast and not had their body briefly ragdoll to the ground. I was able to get a couple of them, but ultimately the assassin with the 44 Magnum proved to be just a little too much and resulted in my death. Round 2 and I put some of the hundreds of items I'd been lugging around to good use. What gave me the edge was 1 part performance enhancers that I stole from the Cans, and 1 part sarsaparilla that I had Jason guzzle down like a madman to stay alive. After laughing at the bombardment, I am teleported to Pearl and immediately begin demonstrating to the boomers the basics of CQC as I inform them that sometimes a knife is in fact better than a gun, especially if all your weapons will result in the death of the user if they are fired inside. Taking out Loyal and Pearl is all it's required to dismiss the boomers, but really where's the fun in that? I would much rather skin them all than just the 2 oldest members, as after all, I want them to put up a little bit of a fight. Well, I say that, but the very first people I went after was Argyle's comatose patients, so clearly I do not practice what I preach at the moment. Taking out the boomers is only one half of the equation. I still need to report the incident to Yes Man, but to do so, I will need to make it onto the strip. Even though I was flaunting my slasher funds no more than a few paragraphs ago, after all that surgery, Jason's pockets are dry. That's even after I raided and pillaged my way through the town from lowly drug dealer to high-class Elvis doppelgangers. In other words, I would need to fight my way onto the strip. Not too difficult by any means, or so I keep telling myself as I get hit with so many explosives that the screen turns white indefinitely. The trick to not be sent to the pearly gates immediately is to head right upon entering and take cover behind the no vacancy sign and only engaging with the Securitrons one at a time. Thankfully, their large stature means if we get close enough, we can effectively use them as a shield while still slashing away at them. This means we won't have to worry about the others' grenade launchers, as NPCs tend not to hurt other members of their faction if they can help it. While the sound effects may seem like I'm just bouncing right off of them, rest assured I ram the machete straight into their screens and come out victorious. I then celebrate this victory by going to Gomorrah and just having an absolute wonderful time. You may be wondering what makes this so special. After all, these slasher runs really just devolve into murdering everyone in my sight anyway. Well, to that I say, welcome to your first video of mine, and feel free to go down into the comments and talk about why you hate the Omertas so much. I'll start. They're all a bunch of smug fuck sons of little With them out of the picture, I finally hit level 12, and as you know by now, this is where we gain access to the Piercing Strike perk, and as a result, we can now negate 15 points of a target's damage threshold, meaning once I wrap up my business on the strip, I'm as ready as I'll ever be to assault the Hidden Valley bunker. Yes, I could head to Cottonwood Cove and get a Machete Gladius to make things easier. I will be getting one of those later, don't worry. But I said near the beginning that I would be taking out the Brotherhood with the same weapon that destroyed the NCR Helios 1, and I meant it. Mopping up the last 2 casinos is child's play. The White Gloves put up more of a fight than the Chairman, but that's more so down to the fact that a melee weapon's natural counter is in fact someone just holding down the block button with their own melee weapon. And sadly, unlike his appearance at the start of the video, I can't just combo them into oblivion with a repeated low overhead. Benny isn't worth wasting time on, other than the fact the experience gains for killing him, and by proxy finishing the Ring-a-Ding quest, grants me another level already. I take a quick detour and speak with Yes Man for some reason, and after realising my blunder, take the platinum chip from Benny and use it to unlock the door to the secret clubhouse and do to Robert what I've done to everyone else. Alright, at this stage I really wanted to head to the Brotherhood bunker, but for some reason, meeting the cans in Boulder City still does not classify as forming an opinion on them, so I must head to Red Rock, and I figured I should get that out of the way first. I'll save us all some time. It went like this. Slash 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 kill. Oh hey, look at that, we're at the Brotherhood bunker. How'd that happen? So last year when Leatherface arrived at the Brotherhood bunker, I barely even had to go into detail about what happened, as why would I? I literally just held down the right trigger until the game told me it was safe to wait. But that was with a chainsaw. How does that same scenario work out with a broad machete and almost zero armor? Does this outcome surprise anyone? Because it shouldn't. I throw myself at this more times than I care to admit before realising that my current setup and plan of attack just aren't going to cut it, as while sometimes I can get past the guards at the door and Ramos, I am torn to bits by Brotherhood reinforcements once I go down the stairs into the main base. In a moment of desperation, I noticed that I was pretty close to level 16. Sure, more skill points would be nice, but as it's an even level, it would give me another perk, and at level 16, you can get the Better Criticals perk for an extra 50% damage per critical hit. If I cannot take them down with brute strength, then Lucky Criticals would have to be the way forward. Considering I am right next to Black Mountain, I just head up to Tabitha's compound, and once I've dealt with a Nightkin not sniper, bust down the nearby doors and kill Raoul, because he's voiced by Machete, so I thought he would appreciate getting to see one up close. Tabitha and her final Nightkin guards are nothing to write home about, a few quick slashes here and there, some melee VATS attacks, and Jason is the only one left standing on the mountain. And as expected, with the quest complete, I level up, take the Better Criticals perk, and once more throw myself at the Brotherhood to see what happens. There are a few more deaths, I won't lie, mostly just to being careless if I'm honest, but assuming I can make it past the entrance and down into the main sleeping area, I am usually good to go. The extra crit damage helps so much more than I could have imagined, as knights in recon armor are out of the picture before they can cause any real harm, and the paladin's incredible defenses can essentially be ignored if I'm lucky enough to land multiple back-to-back crits. Having access to better criticals doesn't change my own defense, of course. Make no mistake, by the time I'm done, I am down to a few crumbs of food and maybe a single bottle of sarsaparilla. I may have also used the power of sync technology to keep me alive. Look, Jason drowned once and all it did was piss him off, so if anything, I'm sure he'll be okay if he drinks his entire body weight in water 5 times over to get back to full health. The bottom floor of the bunker, like usual, is a lot more manageable, as other than McNamara's 2 guards, Harden is the only other person down here in power armor. The rest are all wearing very cuttable scribe robes, which in conjunction with better criticals and piercing strike, well, they may as well all be naked. When the last of the Brotherhood is out for the count, I make my way back up and leave the bunker. Yes, I could technically have just killed the guards at the entrance, formed an opinion for yes man and left, but that didn't seem like fun. All that truly remains now is to power up the substation, but I had another idea. One that wouldn't take very long to accomplish as well. Jason always seems to be harassing people at Camp Crystal Lake, right? Well, there's no Crystal Lake in New Vegas, but there are 4 other areas beginning with the word camp, those being Camps McNamara, Gulf, Forlorn Hope, and Guardian. So how about Jason pays them a visit and does what he does best? While on my way to Forlorn Hope, I stopped by and wiped out the Legion and NCR surrounding Nelson. Now, by all means, I could have taken Liberator from Dead Sea and used it myself, as it still falls within the Machete family. But, and this is pretty dumb on my part, since I used it for the majority of the previous video, I decided that I didn't want to use it today, just to keep things a bit different. It's not a huge setback, as the troopers and officers at Camp Forlorn Hope could do little to stop the broad machete anyway. Taking Liberator to use on them may have just been a tad overkill. By now, small grips like this are really just XP fodder, and I'm totally here for it. Next, I paid Camp Gulf a visit, and severely crippled the NCR by taking out Chief Hanlon. If you are wondering just how I imagine to survive all of these combat encounters one after another, it's simple really.
Nanomachine, son!
Yeah, the implant from earlier basically acts like a bed. Assuming I can find somewhere nearby to wait outside the enemy's killing zone, I can essentially heal to full. I am mainly choosing to do this now, so any and all healing supplies I can get can be saved from when it really matters, like at Hoover Dam, as you cannot wait there. Anyway, next up was Camp Guardian, and not much to say here as it's just a cave with some rats, along with a few rad scorpions up the main trail. Fun fact though, I fell asleep at one point during this recording session. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. All that leaves is Camp McCarran, and I actually decided to use my brain for this one by entering via the monorail at the strip so that I could take out all of the NCR personnel and 1 Legion spy on the inside before making my way out into the wide open area. Because, as you can imagine, having 0 range capabilities means I tend to get gunned down rather easily when there is nothing between me and my opponents. The solution? Hotboxing myself in one of the nearby tents and waiting for them to come to me so that Jason could tear them apart in his drug-fueled rage. That was the last of the camps, bar the legates at the end, but as a quick aside, and because I wasn't sure how to properly slide this in, for some reason I then made my way down to Cottonwood Cove, killed the first legionary I saw with a machete gladius, took it, and then proceeded to slaughter my way through the entirety of the Legion's chain of command, rather easily I might add. I then went and activated the Securiton army while I was there, because the idea of Jason haphazardly somehow leading a robot army seemed kind of funny to me. Don't worry if you think they made the final battle too easy. Spoiler, they did not. Yeah, similar issues to what happened in Camp McCarran just there. Crossing the dam was difficult due to being on the worst possible terms of the NCR, as they shot me and killed me multiple times before I could do anything. Unfortunately, the only real solution was to just run past them and head for the dam's interior. Back to close quarters, and things begin to go my way again. Arriving at the Legate's camp, and I do the usual, take out every last Praetorian before fighting the Legate. I should let you all know that the Super Slam issue with the broad machete did not extend to the Gladius, therefore allowing me to knock down the Legate, and as you can see, it kills him in seconds. You wouldn't think the Legion's best soldier's weakness would be melee weapons, but there it is. The footage speaks for itself. Approaching the gate, and as soon as I can, I land 3 VATS attacks on Oliver to take him out of commission, and in that time, Yes Man and the gang somehow managed to take out the remaining NCR, finishing the game, and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout New Vegas as Jason Voorhees. Well, that was fun. Was it similar to the Leatherface run? Yeah, definitely. But given that all slasher villains tend to do is murder without question outside of a few minor differences, I wasn't expecting much to change. In case you were curious, this was more difficult than the Leatherface run if you couldn't tell. Makes sense after all, that chainsaw of his was downright broken. Quick announcement, something I don't usually do here. There will not be a video next week. That's not to say I'm not working on something, quite the opposite. I am working on a longer video that is literally going to require me to take the entire week to record. I put a community post up about this a few days ago, but I also understand that not everyone sees those. So yeah, no video next week, but you'll find out what this mystery video is at some stage. And just to let you all know, there is no hint, as far as I remember, about this video in any previous video, so don't feel you have to go through old videos with a fine-tooth comb to find out what I'm working on. It's a surprise, and something I've really wanted to do for a very long time. Regardless, that's going to be the next challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider a video a like. If you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe to one of these videos every week. My name's Nerbit. Stay safe, everyone. I'll see y'all in the next video.